Hello and welcome back to All My Art and Soul. This week we're going to continue with Exploring Shapes, Part 2. So here you're seeing what I end up creating, and you'll watch all of these. And I thought I'd begin with showing you some demonstrations of some close-ups of my work of how I use shape. So I'm just going to let you observe while I just talk about these a bit before we go into a live recording, just showing you some more from a different art journal. Lots of rectangles, half circles, open circles, closed circles, organic shapes, jagged edges, smooth, fine edges, sharp edges. And this really plays a big role in the shapes we make, especially when it's collage. So these are just some examples. And in the next section, I'm going to talk to you a bit more about shape from my particular journal that I'm dedicating to record as a resource for my shape collection. And so I'm going to use a lot of my scrap paper, my collage scraps, and try to find some new shapes that I'm not used to using and build my shape repertoire that way. So let's just look at a couple more pages. Yes, the circle, and you'll also find overlapping the shapes creates the layering process is what makes it so interesting. So we have circle, different kinds of circle, and learning the differences. But before we go into differences of shapes, I think it's important to find some new shapes, to really build on our shape repertoire. And I really love this. And this was done just with scraps and unintentionally. The only intention was to try some blue. And of course, this ultramarine, unmixed, just right out of the tube, is so strong. It really needs to be toned down, either with black, white, or its opposite, which would be an orange or an ochre. So we'll work on that, but that's color. So, interesting. Curvilinear, circles, long rectilinear shapes, torn where you get the angular or more jagged edges. And now I'm starting to think of some more, and I love the red polka dots. Okay, and there's more in here. And oh, here's one. So this was just a magazine cutout, and just using those to come up with some new shapes. And I really like what I did, which is amazing. And also really liking this negative shape here, which is partly, so this is just a mixture of shapes. And I love how this is overlapping and you can see the two together. And these were extremely fast, so it's amazing what you can do. Still mostly rectilinear with line, big, bold shapes, smaller shapes. The same, but really having this torn edge as a difference. So cutting your collage paper scraps and tearing them, we'll be doing that as well. And then using the tiny scraps in a compressed area and then going and letting it going into a big area or a bigger shape. And then with that little half circle, there's some organic shapes in here just made with paint. More of the same. This is more of a grid. And that's it. So what I've done is I'm continuing to use the sketchbook and just laying down with leftover paint with my brayer just a start of a background, which I plan to use for this series about shape.
And so we're going to be drawing shapes and stenciling some shapes. So I don't know what it is about drawing shapes. It doesn't seem to, they don't seem to turn out as well as when I'm cutting them out or stenciling them or using the braille, just letting them happen. So I refer to that as a more of an intuitive shape, or just letting the shape sort of happen on its own. And I really like that. And I think a lot of artists refer to it as just having less or no control, the same as you would use your left hand to draw a mark versus your right hand. And there's something about the shape that I like much better. So I'm just with the artwork that I was looking at on Pinterest, and I initially planned to put that part in the video. I don't know what that is. That's what happens. It just comes in random. I would just prefer to let it happen. So in saying that, I knew that was happening when I was drawing right there, and I thought, well, let's move on to the stencils. And I still haven't done this enough. I've seen artists use tape, anything to block the paint from the jelly plate printer, because that's what we're going to use these on. And I really love, and I think I've mentioned this before, not mixing the paint so perfectly, because it turns the marks and the texture, the visual texture turns out really cool. And I'm just cutting. And I love in art school you go and you're attempting to use the scissors as a pencil. And I remember as a figure was, posing, we just used scissors and we cut out, and it was all contour study. So just asking yourself, well, what if I did this and what if I did that? So just keep pushing. I have no idea how these are going to look. And, seeing the video now and the results, they turned out really interesting. And I'm not using a lot of color because I would just want to focus. I want us to focus on the shape itself. So I've used this, I saw this on a video, of course, because we go deep diving and searching, and notice that the ends, there's enough left so it doesn't fall apart. I would have liked pointier leaf shapes. There's another really cool shape. So let's see what they look like. So I'm just putting some of that neutral gray. And I love this gray. It's such a perfect mid-tone. And I'm just going to put these are intended to use as collage pieces for other work, of course. But as you get into your jelly plate printing, you can really go a lot farther. I haven't done that yet. And so I know I wanted to play with layering using the jelly plate printer with different shapes. And once you get into layering the different shapes, then of course you're moving into pattern, right? Anytime you're repeating, but I'm just trying to focus a little bit more on shapes themselves. And this is just from a bingo game. I love the circle, so I kept them all. And I love the gray, and I want to use at least 3 different tones or values on the page. And they really are very quick to dry. And then, of course, your ghost print. And if you haven't used a jelly plate printer, I haven't used it like a lot, but I notice the more I use it, the more ideas I'm getting, and the more fun it becomes. It's endless what you can do. I understand that some of you use it as a palette, so that when you have all this leftover paint, you have all sorts of things to do. That's a great idea. I would love us to share if you're in the Facebook group, and if you're not, please join us. And we've got all sorts of things going on, and especially from this little shape series, we're going to have a little bit of homework, so stay to the end. It's lots of fun, and we'll see where it goes. Now, love this. I just love that idea of layering, and this is the first time that I started doing it. And we can watch a lot of videos and witness a lot of things, but it certainly is different, right? When you actually start doing the thing. Nothing ever turns out exactly the way you plan, but that is a good thing. So all these leftover pieces, the more paint on them, the better, because they'll be stronger. You can use them again, or you can just use them as collage for any work, which we're going to do. At the beginning of the video, that's all of, now you can recognize, those are all the pieces that I've made in as many ways as I could for this part 1. And then throughout the series, we're going to start layering these shapes, putting them together, and just to see what happens. I don't know. I have a sort of a loose idea as to where I want to go with this, and so we'll see. And see the torn edges? I love torn edges. And just placing them around, positive, negative, keeping it really simple. And what it is, it's just helping us pay a little more attention to shape, the shapes positive and negative space create on their own. And later on, we're going to, probably in part 3 it'll be, we're going to get into intuitive shapes. So I have some stuff coming from Amazon that I have to pick up. I'm so excited. I finally ordered my color shapers. So they're gonna be so cool. All right. There was just a little bit left on there, so I thought I might as well pick that up. That's really cool. Just any kind of mark, right? And we're going to get into mark making, of course, line. So great. I love that there's black on there, and there's some shadowing effect that's going to happen. Yeah. So that's what I'm pointing out. And packaging material. I am sure a lot of you save your packaging material. And now my husband goes, do you want these? Do you want this? Do you want that? And so now I have so much, I have to start saying no, but not if it's really interesting. So seeing that where the black is going to be, I'm not putting anything in front of it. So, and just playing. So, and this is the only way we learn. This is the only way I learn anyway. So if any of you have any other suggestions or really cool ways that you use your jelly plate printer, please leave that in the comments. Wow, that is so cool. I'm saying that I never thought the cardboard would lift the paint so much and leave such an interesting, now, of course, repeated shapes, pattern, marks, right? But, you know, that's another element, but it's just so cool. So that nice, this isn't the Parchment, this is the other neutral one that I usually use. I can't think of the name right now. But when I add a little bit of that yellow oxide or yellow ochre to it, it is so cool. Now, I've been really wanting to make these oval or pebble shape, I call them, organic circles. So they turn out so cool. I don't know how I'm going to use them yet in my art, but I know I wanted a whole slew of choices, right? Not too many choices, but enough choices, because I get overwhelmed by too many choices. Wow, I love that. And I would cut that out. I would also use pieces of this or that itself. I would cut around that whole edge, at least leave minimum 3/4 of an inch around. And you would have an excellent shape to put on, I don't know, at least a 12 by 12. And that's what we're going to be doing. I was talking earlier about the journey of 3 paintings. I think I want to use what I make and learn with you, demonstrate in our shape series, and then do 3 neutral paintings with all of these shapes and see what happens. And rather than just working on some paper for experimental, I think I'm going to work on the 12 by 12 wood panels, which are gessoed and all ready to go. Interesting. Oh, I love those edges. There's something about edges, and I think I need to make a note of this. When I'm putting any area down or creating any shape on a piece of artwork. I think another way too is to be stenciling directly on your painting. The same technique, different ways, using different tools, and then we're going to get into some mark making. I love the warmth of that with that little bit of yellow ochre. So I thought, well, let's just put them randomly and overlap and see what kind of, I would refer to this as a visual texture. Okay, so I'm just loving this shape. And you know, I never used to use circles in my art. And now I can't stop using circles. I maybe because I haven't finished exploring with them. Okay. And I love how the paint on the jelly plate printer grabs the paper. So you don't have to touch it just have to touch it very lightly. Wow, what a beautiful shape. And if you go on, now, I think I have that public, yeah. On my Pinterest page, my Pinterest channel, you can go in my shape board, collage scraps, and see all the different examples that I collect. And I'm sure you have your own. So the newsprint again, rolled with a brayer, very interesting. So now I thought, okay, so let's cut and tear, thinking of edges, thinking of size, and of course the shape itself. I'm loving this pink and this sort of this half circle or rainbow or whatever you want to call it. This is that crafted paper scraps that you buy in bundles, and I think they sell it by sort of a themed color, warm, cool, blues, pinks. At least they do in my art store. They used to. I don't know if they still have it. So I just love cutting shapes, and I really, really am getting into this paper, collage fodder, I guess. And who knows what we'll do. The pink will definitely be the punch color, the hero color. I've got this little stripy piece has been dying to get into some work. So I'm just going to make a nice circle, and I have a nice open shape. I may or may not use the square with the circles. You could trim it down, polka dots, oval, sort of an arc, or so many ways to describe these shapes. And then of course my pentagon, my little house. I love that. I use it in different sizes, use it for different meanings, and I could just cut all sorts of different shapes. And then what do we do with them? So if you're really enjoying this particular series, please leave a comment below and stay with this series because it's going to go to at least part 3 or 4, and we'll just see what happens. And don't forget to hop on over to the Facebook group, join up. I usually, I'm checking it at least 2, 3, 4 times a day. Mostly in the evenings is when I'm doing my social media, etc. And yeah, so just, leave a comment if you're enjoying this. And we're going to see where we can take this. Oh, love this green. Now, I'm not a green person, but I really love this very muted, quiet, I guess you can say it's like a light khaki, but they have these beautiful patterns And wow, this is going to be really fun. And this is just going to be exploratory work. And then, of course, yes, the punch. So I need to get a triangle one. I need to get the square. I do believe there's a rectangle. And then while I was doing that, I started remembering, oh, what about the flower shapes? What about hearts? What about, whatever shapes you like? Start doing, you don't have to, I'm just saying, it's just a suggestion. And start collecting and seeing what different shapes you might like to try and explore with. And then, of course, yes, there's stamping. Love stamping. So this is all the stuff that we save, right? Packaging materials, interesting shapes. And again, I'm just using gray. It's, yes, and gray paint or whatever color. I usually like black. There's nothing better than a shape that's created on its own from a brayer, and or any other tool that you don't have any control over what's going to happen. Those are my favorite shapes. So what's your favorite shape? I'd love to hear in the comments below. And have you explored those shapes enough? Maybe explored it with, related to another shape, its opposite, differences. Oh, and then remember, I didn't put that part in the video, but I was searching on the Pinterest and I found some amazing double circles or circles within circles. So I thought, oh, this would be a great thing to do with the different color, gray, and then I end up using the yellow ochre. And I didn't know what to do with this particular one. It's very large. I thought, well, I love drawing, so I'll just start with some pencil shapes. And then I thought, well, that's pretty boring, so let's use the stamp. And I didn't want to put the paint perfectly on it. And then these sort of created like moons or planetoids or, I don't know, what do they look like to you? I would love to hear. And then I thought, well, let's mix the gray and the blue and then see what happens. What if I did this? And that's what I've been doing a lot more and still not doing it enough. What if I tried this? What if I do that? And it's very, very freeing, by the way. So, square within a circle. I love this thing. I've used it. It's got lots of paint on it. So I just wanted to do something a little different. Contrasting shapes, of course. Circle and square. Square within a circle. Circle within a square. Which is it? Who knows? And I do, so stay to the end. I add some bright colors here. I thought, oh, now it needs yellow ochre. And that was the only other color I wanted to use. And then I use a Posca marker. And I love, this is so interesting. I've not done this either. Using the brush, I forget the name, the flat brush, and turning it to make a really cool circle. And then the texture. And not going anywhere near the black line, leaving that space between the yellow ochre and the black mark. And just love that. They're the same, but they're not perfect. So now we've got this really interesting pattern happening. And you could cut them out. You could arrange them differently on a painting. You can use one, or in a row. Who knows what I'll end up doing with them. And the orange Posca marker just did the trick. So let's see what else I'm going to try. Okay, so we are at the end of the video, and I'm just gathering and showing all the possibilities. So you can go, yes, letters, numbers, go around and find and see what you have, and come on over to the Facebook group and start playing and showing just some experimental marks, shapes, and talk about why you like them. And it's great to share. So, see what shapes you are attracted to. And I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that reminder button, hit that like button, and see you soon.